But Philly, the biggest surprise obviously is the Sixers, because I don't think anybody would have thought, oh yeah, the Sixers are going to be, the Sixers are going to be 10 games under 500 at any point in the season.
Hey,
We
Myers,
are
Myers,
every
My- hey, look, look, look.
Welcome
Myers won
to the
2
Our
championships
Coaches
doing the same thing in
Podcast.
Springbrook.
I played
Right.
better. I played the game better than the rest of them. Okay,
And you'll
so
hear
that's all.
this tomorrow as well when we talk about Notre Dame. But on today's Wind Up Wednesday episode, we're going to talk NBA in segment 1. We're going to talk men's college basketball in segment 2, and we'll cover the women's game in segment 3. And the panel is hot today, and I love that. So let's jump into it. Top 6 in the Eastern Conference. We've got Cleveland. We got Boston. We got Orlando. The Knicks, the Bucks, and the Heat are playing better. On the outside looking in, we got the Pacers, the Nets, the Hawks, and the Bulls. Couple of Eastern Conference notes. Paul George and the 76ers are still injured and not playing very well. Trae Young cost the Hawks money because they sat him out of an NBA Cup game. And hey, what are we doing, man? Why are we sitting out an NBA Cup game? So with us today, Coach Alfred Johnson has joined us even in season. Any thoughts on the Eastern Conference this week, Coach?
Well, it was interesting to see the Hawks beat Cleveland back-to-back games. That was very interesting because, again, up until that point, they were 17-1 and rolling. I really thought they would beat the Hawks both nights. The Hawks played well against them. In the first game, Trae Young had 22 assists. They found some scoring. They're doing a good job with DeAndre Hunter coming off the bench. He's playing free. There were 2 good wins for the Hawks. 2 good wins.
All right. Will Cotton, anything in the East this week catch your eye?
I think Boston is number 1, regardless, even though they're getting number 1 right now. I think Boston is still better than Cleveland. When they played each other, Boston was still a much better team. Even though the records say they're only one game apart, I think half a game apart. I think the Knicks kind of coasting. I don't think they're going to do what they did last year, but it's good to see that consistency that they're having going from year to year, that they're actually in the mix. No one's talking about the Bucks. The Bucks started slow. There was a lot of things talking about trade rumors. Dame wants to leave. Giannis wants to leave, and now they've creeped into the top 6. That's great. Miami, we'll see how long they can hold on to the 5 or 6 or 6 spot. When it's only early December 1, so we'll see if Jimmy Butler gets hurt for a good 2 months and then tanks him down a little bit. And I'm still surprised about the Wizards. I mean, not the Wizards, the Sixers. I mean, are they that bad?
Why?
That they just? I mean, I'm just.
Why
you know
are
what
you
it
surprised?
is when you sign? No, actually, I'm not surprised because they signed Paul George.
Yeah.
Playoff P, baby. Playoff P.
Yeah, it's not playoff. So he ain't playing hard right now.
George, any thoughts on the East, sir?
I'm not really all that interested. We're 20 games in. I mean, Boston, we haven't got to where they've gotten, where we haven't got to the point where we start seeing who's a threat and who isn't, because teams are still gelling. You can see that with the Knicks. The Knicks got a group together, and they're not. We haven't. They haven't gotten it. They're slowly starting to get used to each other and learning how to play with each other. Saw it the other night. They went on who they beat the other. I think it was I was watching them beat Charlotte the other night or whatever, and they look like they're starting to get in their feet underneath them. Regardless of anything else and what's going on, it's still the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown revenge tour. I don't care who, what, where, when. Since the season has started, it has continued, and I'm just telling y'all, you don't want to see that group in a 7-game series, because they're out for vengeance, because they're taking no prisoners. It don't matter. So I got, they are tough, man. They are tough.
All right. So Robert, they said you can't win a golf tournament on the first day, but you can lose one. Anybody in the East catch your eye, or is Philly one of those teams that's about to lose the golf tournament?
Well, and yeah, I think oh, well, we're going to get it together. No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, I mean, it's still early, so we haven't really had like, reversion to the mean, teams actually going to their talent, reverting to their talent level, whatever that is. We haven't had that yet. But the biggest surprise obviously is the Sixers, because I don't think anybody would have thought, oh yeah, the Sixers are going to be, the Sixers are going to be 10 games under 500 at any point in the season.
Not just that, but next to the Wizards,
who are
they're only
not trying to win
At all.
They are not. You're turning the corner. They are going in the house, in the basement,
No,
in the cellar. Open the freezer door. Hunker down.
Look,
they're going nowhere.
They started the season with saying we're going to win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. That's basically how they started the season. But I thought, Philly doesn't shock me. I mean, they started off with turmoil, and they started off with everybody hurt. So I didn't think it was going to get much better as it was. And as you put the cherry on top, they signed Paul George. And playoff P is one turned ankle or one internet chick away from being a problem. So
Okay. With that, we're gonna go all the way to the Western Conference and say OKC is 1, Houston's 2, Memphis is 3, Golden State is 4 now. Dallas is 5 and Denver is 6 on the outside looking in. The Suns, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Spurs. Couple of notes from the Western Conference. Steph Curry has a little tendonitis in both of his knees. Hopefully it does not become a nagging type thing. Anthony Edwards is disappointed with the effort of the T-Wolves. Same as the DeJounte Murray is upset with the effort at New Orleans. And Bradley Beal hasn't played a full game. He's not feeling his best. Will, I'm going to start with you in the West. Anything catch your eye? And you've got some players chirping about their effort.
Yeah. What do you think? I was kind of surprised Anthony Edwards said what he said. I can't believe that the fans are booing us. Yo, my man, what you mean? What you mean you're playing terrible? You're not playing, but you're not even in the playoff right now. You're in 11th. You're 9-10. You're not even 500, and you're looking at talking about the fans talking about, oh, well, why are they saying booing? Why are they booing? Because you're not playing very well. You're losing the teams that you're losing the teams that you beat. They're just not playing very well.
They got
Bradley Beal.
They got Julius Randle. You got to give him.
That's the.
You know what I'm saying? They got Julius Randle.
Look at the difference. When you trade.
You got Julius
Randle.
You got Julius Randle. You ain't gonna be good regardless.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And
I don't know.
George,
and then
what else you got?
With the Suns.
Go ahead, Will.
Oh no, and with the Suns, I mean, right on track. KD hurt. Bradley Beal hurt. Train is right on schedule.
I got.
Go ahead, George. Y'all are wrong.
First and foremost, hey, I'm glad Robert's back. It's good to see him. Part 2 of this whole situation is you made a comment with the lead into this. Name a season Bradley Beal has played and has not got hurt. Hey, tell me.
No, I'm saying the train is on schedule. The train is on schedule.
When is the last time Bradley Beal played more than 25 games in a season? Come on, man.
Look, we're getting close. We're getting close to Christmas. He has some gifts to buy. Right. He's not playing right now. He got things to do.
He went up and blocked the 50-year-old LeBron James' shot that one night, and it came down to I broke my toe, and he gonna be out for the next month and a half. So I ain't worried about all that, man.
Coach Johnson, anything in the West catch your eye, sir? Because they're not being nice.
I like how Houston's playing.
Oh, them young dogs, yo. Them young dogs.
They're playing well. When OKC gets Chad back, I think the NBA is going to be a 2-horse race between Boston and OKC for the best record. I love what Cleveland's doing, but I agree earlier with George. Boston, especially with Porzingis back, is clearly better than everyone else. They got a heck of a team. I
Preach,
like
coach.
how Missoula is letting them play. He got a rotation that he can count on nightly. They're just better than everyone. But let me go back to my Sixers for a minute.
Why?
We did think this was going to be better, but I tell you what, they need to keep losing and bring Ace and get Ace Bailey. They need a big 4-man. They need to go. They need to tank for Ace Bailey.
Man,
We can't take in the process. All right, Robert, anything in the West catch your eye? And yes, I did bring up Steph and the tendonitis intentionally. What are you thinking about the West?
You know, there's a lot of miles on those tires, so not surprising. I agree with Coach. I think the two best teams at the end of the season are going to be Oklahoma City and Boston. I don't think there's any question about that. I do think, you know, Denver and Dallas, you know, you got Luka, you got Jokic. I mean, those guys are, you know, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, and at the end of the season, they're going to be in the conversation. They're going to be making people's lives difficult in the playoffs. But again, still early.
Okay.
Now,
All
you-
right.
Keith.
Yes.
Let me add real quick, Robert. I understand what you're saying about them too. Dallas scares me for this reason. Klay Thompson had one good game, then the next game he's 0 for 10 from the floor.
Lord. Coach, did you
he's
bring
done.
up Clay?
Oh man,
Did you
forgot he
bring
was
up
playing.
Clay? Oh.
he checked in, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he does play for the
they,
Mavericks."
they are not a good team. They're average.
We said
Luka's
Go
out
ahead,
too.
George.
Luka's out
Go
too,
ahead.
so they
We
just
we said he said Steph got tendonitis. Clay got tendonitis in every part of his body. Of course, he
Oh,
only
man.
played one game.
Man.
What the hell are you talking about? I mean, I honestly, if I'm Clay, I'm taking the money I got from Dallas. I'm going to see the same doctor that LeBron sees to give me them shots we ain't going to talk about. And I'm going to go ahead to keep me going. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to go from there.
Where's that
It-
random
it-
shot at LeBron?
Where-
Where'd that random
Ain't no-
shot from
ain't no-
LeBron come from?
Ain't no
Why
random
you catch
shot.
that straight?
He ain't catch it straight. That's regular.
Let-
Ain't
let
that's
me ask you
regular.
guys
That's
one
regular
quick
for
question.
me.
Let me
So
ask you guys one
fans,
quick question.
Go ahead,
Coach
Coach.
got a
Go
coach.
ahead.
Coach
Did
got a
you
question.
guys see the Lakers and OKC the other night?
Yeah.
I actually watched that
Yeah.
game
You
on West
see,
Coast
it
time.
was 13.4 seconds ago. OKC, Lakers missed the ball. OKC had the ball, was going down. LeBron walked towards the bench. It was a good 5 seconds. He was out of the view because he walked to the bench. The game was still on, and then he decided to run down the floor. Not acceptable. Not acceptable.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
hey.
nah.
Yeah, I'm
Man,
telling.
random straight.
Well, we're
Good
going to
Lord.
use
No
the not
random straights?
acceptable as our
Because-
transition.
Anytime when we had to bring the Lakers up at some point, Ty, because
Oh,
Robert,
man.
that's
Call me
Robert
and
our
say, man, what
favorite
y'all
thing.
talking on the AC? I ain't
No,
do
that's a
nothing.
regular. That's a regular. That's a regular.
All
Because
right.
the juice ain't working right now at the beginning of the year.
I'm
so
not
they
touching
gotta
that.
get
He
the
got
juice.
a whole season to play. He got another juice coming. Don't
No,
worry.
no,
It's
he
coming
got
straight.
to get his
All
next
right, in
treatment. Got to go to
segment
Germany
two,
and get his next
We're
treatment.
going to talk NCAA and we're going to talk college and professional officiating. We've got college coach, we've got officials here, we've got former athletic administrators. Going a little crazy with the officiating. We'll be right back on the iCoach Project. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful antidotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today.
All
right.
For the plugs.
Hey, guys,
Welcome back
once
to
he
the
got on
Odd
the
Coaches
juice, they got the
podcast.
cold down. He stopped wearing the head.
You a
This
billionaire, you should not be
post-Thanksgiving
going
week,
bald,
we
brother.
are really excited. It's segment 2. Let's go NCAA basketball. We've got some rankings for you, and then we're going to talk about officiating. Right now, it's still early, but we got Auburn, Kansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Marquette for the high majors. And in the mid majors, we got St. Mary's, UC Irvine, Bradley, Louisiana Tech, and San Francisco, and some teams to watch. Memphis had a great week. West Virginia had a great week. They play a lot of overtime games. Drake, Furman, and hey, shout out to Columbia. Go Ivy. Coach Johnson, any thoughts this week about men's college basketball?
Yes. Wow, the games are exciting, like you mentioned about overtime. But what's clear is there are players everywhere. There's no more just, the blue bloods and so forth. If you can play, you find a coaching staff and environment where you feel embraced, do your thing there. I know we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but I was real anxious actually to how the media was going to attack or not attack Hurley for his antics when they lost 2 straight.
3.
3 straight. The fact that you see him going through all this, you see his assistants holding him back. I thought that was made for TV. That was a bunch of crap. That's
All
a
right.
bunch of crap.
We will get to Dan Hurley. Will, anything catch your eye in the men's game this week?
Oh man, well, St. John's was ranked and lost 2 tough games back to back. They lost to Georgia and they lost to the second over. Yeah, I'm talking about the Big East, baby. The team that wins the championship every year, the conference that wins every year.
You got one team. Shut up. One team.
Marquette's always good. Marquette's number 4 right now. I show love where I'm at, man. But yeah, I think it's like the parity is great.
Yes.
The thing I've been looking for is I've been looking at the kids who are going to the next level. I've been obviously looking at Cooper Flagg, and outside of that, I've been seeing other guys who are just as better. This is going to be a stronger class than people believe. I think everyone was saying that last year was a weak draft, and this year's going to be a weak draft, or this next draft is going to be very top heavy. I don't think it's going to be very top heavy. I think they're going to have a lot of talent, top to bottom. And as it flushes out, we'll see who jostles the position. But I think there's a lot of talent, like Coach says, which is that we haven't seen previously. And it just seems like the kids almost like each other a little bit more this year. Like they, share the ball. They're not crisp, and they're not where they need to be, but they're playing a lot better, and there's a lot more watchable basketball this year. So I'm excited about what's going on with college basketball.
George, anything catch your eye in men's college basketball?
Ron Harper's son is a dog.
Yes, he is.
Rutgers is going to be a problem. I start off, and shout out to Coach Shire and Duke, because I love the way he has set his schedule up by playing these tough competitive games early. Duke's gonna be a problem when we get into the meat of the season. They got some horses out there. Cooper Flagg is legit.
Guys eating burgers.
Yeah. And
gotta stop eating burgers.
And can somebody tell me what Carolina, what were they doing the other night where they got down by 50 and then almost 50 and then came back and won out there in Maui? So, we got some good games. I haven't seen many of them, but I'm looking forward to the college basketball season this year because, like everybody said, there's some talent out there and we got some real dogs to go watch.
All right. And speaking of looking forward, OCP will be in San Antonio, and hopefully Robert and I can catch up. Robert, anything catch your eye this week?
There are a lot of really good teams. There's nobody that really stands out to me. Kansas, I think Kansas is number 1 right now, but they're good. I don't think they're a great team. Auburn is really good. Tennessee is really good. There are a lot of teams that are fun to watch right now. A lot of good basketball.
And
And Keith-
you need to include Oregon because they looked good last night against Alabama.
Yeah.
That was a great game.
Keith, and I will say this. This is going to be interesting this year because I think coaches have kind of got a lot of coaches have got a handle on the situation where they're putting together good, bringing in a lot of veteran players that have been through it before, mixing them with some real good incoming freshmen. So we won't have a whole lot of freshman heavy teams or young teams versus older teams, which we've seen in the past 2 years. And the older teams have been the ones to be in the national championship picture. I think we've got teams that got real good mixes coming in this year.
Good point.
One last thing. We don't
Yeah.
see UConn in the top 25.
No,
Which is interesting because we really see how good a coach is Dan Hurley is. Now that you have to climb into the top 25. It's easy when you're the number one and you kind of hold on to it. But, for them to
Well-
kind of go through a little adversity, they got to jump into it now. Let's see how the rest of the season goes.
Will, it's hard to be in the top 25 when you keep getting kicked out of games. But that's
Which is our setup. So I'm going to go to Robert, who is
Segue.
our official. So in the NBA, you had Fred Van Vliet last week openly admonish 3 officials. This past week, you also saw Danny Hurley go just ballistic in terms of different calls and things that didn't go their way. And it's not a joke when I say Robert's a guy that brings levity to the situation. So Robert, as an official, we talk every year. Robert's been on the show since its inception. It's not getting better. And we seem to have these types of conversations. As somebody who still officiates, Robert, what are your thoughts on the still growing animosity between players and officials?
Well, so let me start with this. I mean, I'm not familiar with the NBA situation at all, but I did see the Hurley incident. And Danny Hurley's a really good coach. I mean, he
Yes, he is.
he won game, he won a lot of games at Rhode Island before he went to UConn. So I mean, he's going to get UConn back in the top 25. He's a really good coach. That said, when you act that way on the sidelines, when you make yourself a spectacle, you are forcing the officials to address your behavior. And that's what that is. And you can say whatever you want about the call or no call that precipitated him acting that way. But the fact of the matter is the officials cannot allow anybody, coach, player, fan, to act that way as part of the game, because the officials are there, to call a game as fairly as possible and to ensure the safety of the players. That's what the officials are there for. They're to call the game. And when you have to address and you have to address that kind of behavior, and truthfully, I'm surprised that he and like Fran McCaffrey at Iowa, I'm surprised those guys don't get run out of more games. And I know that these guys at the upper levels, they probably are told you need to have a longer leash, that kind of stuff. I don't work those levels of games, but I'll when coaches act that way, most of the time I am able to go and talk to them and say, hey, look, we're not going to do that tonight. I'll talk to you all night, but we're going to talk right here, me next to you. If you're going to do that, I have to take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that kind of behavior. I think it's bad for the game, and I think that it should be addressed, but I'm not in charge. So
Coach Johnson, you are in the belly of the beast. This is what you do every day. You are still in it 25, 30 years. You deal with officials. You've seen it from the pro side. You've seen it from the college side. What, in your opinion, is still causing this gap to occur between players, coaches, and officials?
Well, I agree with Robert about the behavior, that cannot be allowed. I know at my level, one of the problems I have, to be honest, is Robert, is that one, I have officials we see too much of. But seriously, that's a problem. But two, my teams are big. We're Division III, and I am 6'7", 7 feet, 6'5" up front. And my kids get hit and so forth, and the referees call themselves, for whatever reason, seemingly evening things up, and we don't get calls. We play inside out. Getting to the foul line is part of our philosophy, being in a one-on-one bonus and so forth. I got kids coming out of games with scars because they're playing against dudes that's just killing them because they're smaller. But that's, and then I try to tell referees, this is basketball. Second semester, we're going to be 6'7", 6'10", 7 feet up front. The 6'10" kid is extremely skilled. And my fear is with some of these officials, it's unbelievable. And you do, as coaches, we try not to go there. But some of these guys, and we do need collectively more officials. We need better officials. The fact that my AD told me that I got guys that, he know when he started 15 years ago was referee. And some of them can't keep up in terms of getting up and down the floor speed-wise. Some of them just, listen, I have a lot of respect for officials. I really do. And it's a tough job. But when I see guys not making calls or tell you, coach, I'll get the next one. Don't get the next one my ass. Excuse me. Hey, make the right call.
All right, Robert, go ahead, man. I wanted that.
Let me follow that up because Coach, you're right. It's never good if you see me 5, 6, 7 times a season. That's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good for anybody because you're putting both team. You're putting the officials and you're putting the coach in a situation where that familiarity is not always a good thing.
That is so true.
But the flip side of that is this, and I'm gonna pitch a little bit because of my one of my jobs. The average age of sports officials in the United States right now is 57 years old. 57. Okay. And there is a shortage during COVID. 50,000 officials nationwide went away. They retired, they got sick, whatever, right? So you have a shortage of officials nationwide, right? And you're always going to have officials for your games. There's all kinds of people. I work small college basketball. There's all kinds of people wanting to work that level of basketball. You're always going to have people. The difference is that now you're starting to have the quality is being affected because of the shortage. You have young officials who have worked their way into D3 games who have only seen, they've only worked for 3 or 4 years and they're not experienced and they haven't seen enough plays. You have guys like me, I'm 55 years old and I can still run, but not like I used to. And I wasn't fast when I was 17. I'm not any faster now. And, so it's harder to keep up. And you have in order to ensure that the quality of the officials all the way through is what we want, we have to recruit more officials. And you can see on my hat, I work for a company called Ref Reps. We have an online education platform that we use to help colleges and universities and high schools teach sports officiating classes so that we can find that next generation of officials and so that we can help people see the game through the eyes of the officials. So we have less Danny Hurley type stuff, and we have people wanting to officiate, more people getting into games, getting into officiating. And that way, when you're coaching, you're getting better officials and you're not getting the same 6 guys every time you have a home game.
All right, George, you're my athletic director. You go through the system. You've booked officials, and just as Coach Johnson said, there's some guys you're like, man, can't. We would even say, I'm guilty too. Please don't send that guy back over here.
That's true.
We've been there. George, any thoughts on this great conversation about officiating?
What Robert speaks about is a growing problem, and it's across the board. Our lack of officials. I mean, we got this year, we got into the state tournament football, and we had to have games on Saturdays and Friday nights because we didn't have enough officials to cover all the games in the state. This is and you're going to see the same thing happen with basketball. This is a growing problem. They got to change the way on how they probably package it, because right now you got some guys going into it, but it's not the ones you want. Your former players and stuff like that are not going back and officiating. It used to be a time where you go grab a official, you start talking to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I can remember it. I can remember going in and seeing games and talking to guys, and I used to play against them, whether in basketball court or football. They have some background to them.
Right.
Now, you got armchair quarterback who's never done anything, get off the couch. Now he's going to come be an official. And he doesn't have the background knowledge, or they're just not experienced and haven't seen it at that level. So it becomes a problem with them calling, and refereeing the game. And then on top of that, it's a grab bag. You don't know what you're going to get officiating wise. I remember sitting in one game this year where the referees in the back half of the field, I could tell they were all young. They didn't know what they were doing, and they were making calls where you like, what are you doing? Which wound up causing a coach getting a sideline warning. So it's a real problem, because you gotta recruit people that have some experience and know what they're looking at, know what they're seeing, and know what they're doing when they get into it. So this is going to affect sports, as a whole worldwide as we continue to go, because right now where the things are going, I don't see it getting any better. So we're going to it's going to wind up being a bigger issue.
Will, you're a player. You saw this, and as the conversation goes, I see you saying, "Oh yeah, I remember that piece." Any thoughts on this before we let Robert close, and our super producer Kelly will share some information on the screen about the work Robert's doing with RefWorks?
Oh, for sure. I think everyone on the panel said everything that needs to be said. So 2 things for me. I think I was lucky enough and fortunate enough that I was with you, Coach. I mean, I understand that the relationship between coach and ref and how the game and every works. And, there was times when you tap them on the shoulder or tap them on the hip and say, hey, that's a foul. There's times when you explode. There's times when coach, you say, hey man, like da 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 da, and get attacked. But there was never a time when a ref would ever say like, man, I hate Keith. At least out loud. I don't know.
Right.
But
there were some that did.
I'm sure there's some guys cursing in the back when they're changing clothes, talking about, man, that blah 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 blah. But from my perspective, from a player, and I saw the other players see, you had a certain amount of respect that we saw between the dance between the refs. I think that was really cool. I think the biggest thing that wasn't mentioned is that now with all this sports betting that's becoming a lot more unpopular, people are becoming a lot more scrutinized about the calls. You know, before in the game, it's like, oh, he had that bad call. Yeah, it's a bad call. But when it costs you $5,000,
Right.
that bad call, then now we have social media. It's like, look at this ref. Let me show you this video and slow it down. And what's he looking at? And show you the angles. And let me show you another angle of this. So people are like picking and not understanding the full picture of what's going on. They don't know what was said to them. You know, what the coach said, like, hey, man, blah, 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 blah. You better call this, blah, 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 blah. You don't know the relationship going on. All you see is the action that happened. So there's a lot of things that you gave me, coach, as a foundation to say, like, okay, I understand when coaches are going, go ballistic. There's a reason why, within reason. But I also think now that people are investing themselves into these games, they're going to scrutinize every little piece of the game, and that includes refs. So, something where a guy misses a travel, misses a charge, misses a play, it becomes, oh, is he on it? Oh, is he the ref's being paid, and becomes even more questioning the integrity of the actual refs. And then refs don't have to answer to that. So that extra, that kind of puts on top of it, the refs don't go in the news conference and say, well, I made this call because of this. And when I saw that, they don't have that. They don't have to answer those. So I think there's a lot of people who are looking at it in a very small lens and say, oh man, well, this guy it has no integrity. He's calling this. He doesn't like this. He doesn't like that. Knowing that there's a big history behind that for those calls. So, and it's a dance, like Robert can say, you're not coaching, you're not refereeing every game the same. The relationship's different. The energy's different. A rivalry game's a little bit different than a non-rivalry. You know what I'm saying? So the energy's different. So just shout out to the refs who keep doing their things, because 9 times out of 10, when they go back and they look at the video, people are like, well, damn, I guess the ref was right. It was a travel. It was, and Robert tells us that. He says, you go back and look at it. Was it a foul or was it a bad call? If it's a bad call, it's a bad call. That's why we have humans who ref the game. If you want a robot to do it, who's going to call it, do what you want. But I think that's part of the game, is the dance. And it just makes it, even like a charge. Got to take a charge and flop, and the crowd goes crazy. That's part of it. I love it. And I think we have to kind of go back to that and just, what coach used to do, both coaches, just go back and kind of just understand the dance between refs and, no, it's not personal, but, just to say about Dan Hurley, you can't overboard, we're boys. We can talk to each other. We can, joke around, rib each other, coach a little bit, but don't say that. Then it becomes, I'm a man, first of all, and 2, you're not going to talk to me like that. Right. And I think there's a little thing going on.
So Robert, close us out, and
Keith,
go ahead.
Before Guru Robert takes over, I think that's one insight that we missed. The amount of we know we've had refs that have come up dirty, but the amount of access that we have now is so much different, that now you can go back and you can question, calls continue to be questioned, and this, that, and the other, and then you get the whole, everybody can second guess and play armchair quarterback, which didn't really happen. You kind of accepted it back in the day and you kept moving on. But now it's like, oh, the whole NFL's fixed because the Chiefs get every call, or this, that, and the other. And I think that influences how some, especially these modern day coaches, react to stuff on the sidelines. Because they know once it hits social media, they'll get a whole audience behind it. So it's ridiculous. This is also a reason why people don't want to become refs. That's one of the things, and that's part of that going to be their recruiting thing. I'm sorry, Guru, do your thing.
So Robert's going to share. He's going to wrap us up. Super producer Kelly's going to put some information out on the screen. If you're interested in becoming an official, Robert, go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're interested in becoming official, there's a lot of different ways to do it. But I would encourage, I'd encourage everybody to check out refreps.com. You can, we have courses for every single sport that the National Federation of High School offer. We just finished a water polo class. You can learn to be a water polo official, right? So, we're always, as an official, The biggest thing for me is making sure that I'm giving back to the game and making sure that the next generation is able to continue playing. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you have officials, because without officials, you're just having practice.
Mm.
All right. So with that, in segment 3, we're going to talk the women's game, and our story of the week is, how is the Golden State Valkyries going to build their roster? That's going to be interesting with several smart, intelligent basketball minds. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to talk the women's game, top 5 overall. UCLA's won, UConn's 2, and everybody seems to be healthy. Notre Dame's 3, but took an L. South Carolina's 4, way to come back from a loss by waxing Iowa State. And then Texas is 5, and again, they're all brand names. Mid-majors, Gonzaga, Middle Tennessee State, even though Gonzaga just took an L. Ball State, Columbia women, so the Ivy League is getting love, and Portland. Some teams to watch: Iowa, Maryland, Buffalo, Kent State, Northern Arizona, and Harvard. So if you have a chance, take some time to look at them. But I want to jump into our story of the week with the women's game, the Golden State Valkyries, and I hope I'm saying that right. They have the 5th pick in the upcoming WNBA draft, and we are watching the college game, looking for who's the next big star coming out. But now, this week, they're going to get to pick from a list of protected players in the WNBA, and that made me think about roster construction. So I want to start with Coach Johnson. Coach, roster construction. What do you think about how Golden State should set up their roster? What are you looking for, and what advice would you give them as they construct their roster?
Well, first of all, it's going to depend on who the coach is. Do they have a coach yet?
They do have coaches, yes.
Okay, because the philosophy of the coach. I know when I'm building a roster, I'm looking for 2 things first. I want a point guard. I tell my point guard, I don't care if them other dudes don't know what 2 + 2 is. You better know what 2 + 2 is. You need a point guard that can control everything. Then I want a big that can score and rebound. We can fill in the rest. So if I'm building my team, those are the first 2 things I'm looking for: a point guard and a big that can score and rebound.
All right, George, you have constructed rosters and you've constructed coaching staffs. What advice are you giving Golden State right now as they are in the process? They already know what pick they're going to have in the college draft. Now they're building for the veterans of the WNBA.
Yeah, you want your backbone right now. I mean, what they're looking at is they want their backbone who's going to set the tone in a locker room. I mean, depending on who's on that list to draft from, is going to be what you pick. Do you want your point guard? You know, that you got to remember now though that what you're picking is not going to be your franchise, your franchise face. That you're going to say that's going to probably be in the draft, or if you make a trade or something, you're picking your backbone. So this is like the people that you want somebody that's going to hold the team together. If you're a defensive minded coach, it's going to be your defensive minded point guard or your back line person. If your offensive line minded coach is, you're going to be your point guard that can distribute to your scores. However you're going to do, but what I would say is this pick right here is going to be important to be your backbone, setting up your team as you go.
All right, Robert, you're our administrator. You're looking at it from a large global standpoint. You've got to not only build a team, but you got to get people involved and excited about it. And the WNBA is at a point where you don't have to wait to win. Any thoughts you have on building the roster?
Well, if they choose wisely, they're going to be competitive right away. I mean, if there's one thing about the WNBA, because we've had number one draft picks get cut.
Yes.
There are a lot of good players out there who are not seeing the floor, who are not in WNBA. They have a chance to be competitive right away. I agree with Coach Johnson. With one thing, I think that the best thing they can do, if they can find a quality big or two who can score, who can rebound, who can defend, because you got to be able to guard people in the post in the WNBA, because we've got really good post players. You know, the teams that are really good have really good players in the post, and you got to be able to guard them.
Right. Will, what are you thinking about, sir?
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't go into the analytics and the stats, and don't overthink it. Just choose a couple attributes that you really want to show in terms of a team. Like, what do you want? Do you want a leadership, or do you want a scorer? And I'll get a leader later. Don't want a teammate kind of person. Have those philosophies set up so that when it's time for you to make that pick, you don't have to be like, oh, who am I going to get? Who am I going to get? And, know who you're going to pick. They know what pick they have now. The draft comes all the way, down at the end of the year. They should already know who they pick. This should not be a secret. They should not be figuring it out. They should not be, as organization, they should already know who they're taking, maybe like a month or 2 months before the draft, and they should start thinking about putting other players around them. This should not be a thing that they're thinking about the night before, like we're trying to decide between so and so and so and so. That's not a good organization. That's not how you really put your work in. So like everybody else said, there's really no way to kind of, lament on that. All so right. I just think, make it easy.
So for me, I am a fan of what I call basketball math. 5 to play, 8 to win, 9 if you have foul trouble. So as I'm building this roster, I'm with Coach Johnson. I need a point guard and I need a big. And then I need the best athletes and available people for 2, 3, and 4. And I need backups that can go 1, 2, 3, and that can go 3, 4, and then give me another pure post. I like the pure post, 2 guys playing, 2 girls playing. I like the pure point, and then everything else is kind of interchangeable. That's kind of how I would start to build the roster. So give me 2 points, 1 old, 1 young. Give me 2 bigs, 1 old, 1 young, so we can build up the other way. Because unlike the college game now, which is crazy, the program, you actually know how long you're going to have these folks because they have contracts, and you can manipulate the roster a little more. And one of the things you're starting to see is that the WNBA is going the college route in terms of who they're hiring as coaches because of the teaching aspect. And it's something Robert and I talk about on a regular level is people run away from instruction. People run away from hard instruction and understanding that there are already gaps. And that's one of the things I like about watching George work is the taking of the time to teach whatever it is intentionally, so then you can go and you can grow. So that was good stuff. So as we wrap up, on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the iCoaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA SAVE Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.